Hi guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today is going to be a first for my channel, and it is going to be a comparison video. And we're going to compare two Roja Doves. One is the Parfum version of Creation E, and one is the Parfum Cologne version. Now, this is going to be a little tough for a couple reasons. I want you guys to keep something in mind as I talk about these two fragrances. Number one, they are very, very close. So the differences I'm going to talk about are from me sitting here wearing the Parfum Cologne on the left hand and the Parfum on the right hand. Now, by the way, I just did a Roja Dove family portrait, and this bottle was not included in there. I included a 7.5 ml decant atomizer that I have instead, and that's because I bought this bottle off of Rudy, Time to Musk Up. So if you don't have his, if you are not subscribed to his channel, Time to Musk Up, go do so. He is a very honest and straightforward, and glad to know him and call him a friend in the community. And I kind of helped him take this off his hands, and he gave me a pretty good price for it, and I was glad to get it. So let's start by talking a little bit about what this fragrance is and the history. I do have some notes that I took. I've been wearing it all day. I have about a 9-hour dry down on this hand, and I've got about a 4-hour dry down of the same Parfum Cologne version here. And I have a 9-hour dry down on this hand of the Parfum and a 4.5-hour dry down of the Parfum right here. So I've been smelling them, comparing them, and I will give you my thoughts. Now, if you don't know this fragrance, it is basically a cognac. Cognac is the big seller. It's a warm, spicy cognac with tobacco, and it's one of the fragrances that maybe is Roja trying to push the brand into the future, in my opinion. But Roja always kind of harkens back to fragrances of the past, and there is what some people call cola opening of both of these. So you get this cola opening. My nose takes it one step further, and I'll tell you what I get the most when I spray these two on is I get wild cherry Pepsi. You guys remember wild cherry Pepsi from the late 80s or 90s? That's what I get with these. But the difference is that the Cologne version, which you can kind of see the difference in color. Look at how dark the Parfum is, and look at how light the Cologne version is compared to it. The Cologne feels almost like a diet wild cherry Pepsi, if that makes sense, when you first spray. Now, a couple points on price real quick. This is outrageously expensive, eye-wateringly expensive. I would say that it's ridiculously priced, to be honest with you. If you pay retail, it's priced at 375 pounds on Roja's website, which works to about $500 for 50 ml. Now, this came out in 2013, and this is the heavier concentration, the Parfum. The Parfum Cologne, came out in 2019, and it's 225 pounds for 100 ml. So you get double the juice, and you pay less, substantially less. It works out to about 300 bucks on Roja's website for 100 ml, which is still expensive, but not completely outrageously expensive. I have my theories, and I will try to share them with you today. I took some notes. Usually I just kind of talk off the top of my head. I'm going to try to read some of this without, seeming like I'm just sitting here reading a script that I kind of wrote. But the first thing is the fragrance that it reminds me of from the past, because all Rojas kind of remind me of a fragrance from the past. This is M7. You get this cola vibe from this as well. This is more of like a Dr. Pepper vibe to me for some reason. This is the vintage M7 bottle, by the way, which you can't get anymore, and prices on, Fleabay are completely outrageous. Don't pay $500 for a bottle of this, by the way. But I do really enjoy this fragrance. It reminds me of it. This is an oud take on it. This is a cognac and tobacco and benzoin, take on this DNA without the oud. Roja actually has a video where he talks about liquor notes in perfumery, and it's funny because, he is sitting in this posh lounge, and he says, we're in this super secret lounge in the bottom of Harrods or wherever he is, and if you want the way that this fragrance kind of makes you feel, if you take Roja sitting in his purple velvet suit and he's surrounded by all these beautiful artifacts and paintings and statues, and he's got his Louboutins on, and their $1,000 shoes with no socks, and that is the vibe that this does kind of give me, because you get the tobacco and you get this warm spiciness, but there are some differences. Again, they're minute. The first difference is, and I like that cola opening vibe, by the way, I normally don't like sweet fragrances. This is a sweet fragrance that I like, and what happens is when you first spray, let's start with the Parfum Cologne first on my left hand. So when you first spray the Parfum Cologne, you get that wild cherry Pepsi vibe, but it smells like a diet cola fragrance to me, to my nose. It smells like a diet. And it lasts about 15 to 20 minutes, and then it starts to transition into the second part of the fragrance. And the notes in the heart of this fragrance, let me just tell you what Fragrantica says for the Parfum Cologne first. The top is bergamot, and then you get into this floral heart, which if you've watched some of my other videos, I've talked about the fact that I think Roja's perfumers have done a very good job of creating like a DNA for him. This has a big floral heart. If you only wear it once or twice, you may not get it. If your nose isn't geared to pick up on those kind of nuances, you may not get it. But there's a big heliotrope note. I think that's the biggest floral note in this fragrance. And then you get jasmine, neroli, rose de mai, and geranium. And those 5 florals in the heart are almost like a Roja Dove signature, so to speak. And then in the base, Fragrantica says cognac, vanilla, benzoin, tobacco, ginger, cardamom, ambergris, sandalwood, pepper, and patchouli. And so 15 minutes after you first spray, that soda vibe, opening starts to kind of diminish, and it goes into that floral heart, and it really starts to hit the first transition where you start to pick up the, tobacco and the benzoin and stuff like that. But one big difference between these two is that once it hits about the 15-minute mark, this is where these two really diverge from each other. So this one goes away from that fizzy cola opening and heads into the next transition, whereas I would say, wearing this one today, I realized that the fizzy opening that I like does last about an hour. So it lasts a little bit longer. Yeah, you keep getting that fizz for longer. Sometimes it feels like it's there even more than an hour on this one. The second point that I would make is that after the first 15 or 20 minutes on the Parfum Cologne, it starts to feel like maybe there's a little bit more synthetic starting to come in. So it almost feels like you're starting to smell like a amberwood or ambroxan note. Yeah, in the Parfum Cologne, it starts to feel like you're starting to smell an ambroxan note that I really don't get from the Parfum version. Obviously, it's fresher. That's the whole point of this, is that they've freshened it up. You can wear it in more situations. Now, one thing that caught my eye, and maybe this is Fragrantica being crazy, but they have ambergris listed as a note in the cheaper Parfum Cologne, but in the Parfum, the more expensive Parfum, ambergris is not listed. It smells like ambergris is used to give it that kind of sparkle that, Soda Pop has that fizz. And it feels like ambergris and ginger are kind of used to give it that pop, if I'm not mistaken, to go with the cognac. Um, but it's interesting that it's listed on the Parfum Cologne and not on the Parfum. So that's one thing that I noticed. I don't necessarily believe that. Um, Unless, for example, Roja's brand grew a lot from 2013 to 2019. So from 2013, when this came out, to 2019, he kind of turned into like a sensation in the fragrance world, right? And so it is possible that he mastered some techniques and that he was able to get access to some materials that maybe he didn't have, but I don't know if I really believe that, to be honest with you. I think they both probably have a little bit of ambergris in them. But this has the florals and the freshness amped up. Now, what I will say about this one is that it feels like the meat and potatoes of the fragrance. The cognac, the tobacco, the selling points of the fragrance are a little bit more amped up. And it feels like a little bit of a heavier fragrance. And so this you could probably wear in more settings, more situations. This, today it's finally below freezing here in Texas, and I think this goes perfectly. So this is not as versatile, I would say. It is a longer fragrance as well. I would say it lasts just a little bit longer, but if you're going to get 8 to 9 or even 10 hours out of this, I think you might get 10 or 11 out of this. So it'll last a little bit longer, but I don't know if the average person is really going to pick that up. The biggest thing to me, though, when I smell this, when I'm really thinking about what does this offer that the Parfum Cologne doesn't, and there is this amped up benzoin and vanilla, I would say, in the base. Now, vanilla can be a very expensive note. Not a lot of people know that, but real proper vanilla is not cheap. And I think that it might be a little bit amped up in this fragrance. The benzoin and the vanilla feel is a little bit more, I don't want to call it a gourmand, but it is almost like a masculine, type gourmand feel because, it has those, sweet type of notes. And normally I don't like those kind of fragrances, but this is done so well and it is a unique fragrance for Roja. He's not redoing Mitsuko. He's not redoing Eau de Hermes, he's not redoing Habanita. This is a little bit more unique for him, and I do really like that. It's a very modern fragrance. It feels like, it feels like it's a like if you're looking at a house, this is a modern mansion. It's a glass house. It's well architectured. It's not an old house from 100 or 200 years ago. This is very, very modern for perfumery. And the other thing is, I haven't really smelled anything else that smells like this, to be honest with you. It is unique for what it is. It's like I said earlier, outrageously expensive. So those are just my initial thoughts on the two fragrances. Now, value for money. Value for money, obviously money is a subjective thing. If someone's a multimillionaire, spending $500 versus $275 or $300 is not going to make much of a difference. But for the average person who is watching their milliliters and, watching their sprays and can't have, everything that they want and money doesn't matter, double the mill for almost half the price is going to make a big difference. And I don't know if I'm going to really be able to make a recommendation to you because I like them both. I mean, I'm glad that I have both in my collection so I can kind of smell the differences. This is a 10 ml decant, by the way. So I don't have a full bottle of the Parfum Cologne, but would I get it even though I have the Parfum? I think I would, because part of me, even though I enjoy this, I almost feel like I'm being taken for a ride a little bit every time I put this on so far. Whereas, with this, I feel like it's a much better value for my dollar. And I think if I had to buy this again, or if I had to if I had to buy this fragrance all over again, this is probably the best bang for your buck. And so, if you're thinking about spending the money, and the other thing that comes into play, I think, with Rojas are that Parfum Cologne line in general, I don't think has gotten very good press. I know that there's a lot of people in the community that do not like Scandal Parfum Cologne. They do not like Danger Parfum Cologne. And they don't like the Vetiver Parfum Cologne. And I have decants from Lucky Scent of all of those. And I can tell you that while they may not be shite, they're not very good. But I do think that this Parfum Cologne, the Enigma version, is the best of the bunch to me. And there's an interesting. So I didn't even tell you the notes, by the way, on the Parfum. So the top is black pepper, neroli, bergamot. Mid is cognac, tobacco, ginger, and jasmine. And then base is vanilla, benzoin, patchouli. You notice the floral heart that I think, the perfumers may have perfected is not listed here in the original 2013 like it is in the Parfum Cologne. Now, that's per Fragrantica. But if we actually go to Parfumo, if you go to parfumo.net, the two fragrances have exactly the same note listing. They have bergamot in the top, geranium, heliotrope, jasmine from grass, and neroli and May rose in the heart. And they have ambergris, benzoin, pepper, cardamom, cognac, ginger, patchouli, sandalwood, tobacco, and vanilla in the base. So Parfumo has them listed exactly the same. Fragrantica has some differences. Who knows? But I can tell you the differences that I'm talking about are if you're sitting there smelling one, smelling another, and the average person is not going to do that. So, if you have the funds, get them both. It's a joy comparing them. One other thing I was thinking about, and this is completely off the cuff, I may be totally out of left field here, but in this version, this Parfum version, I actually get a little bit of an almond note, which I don't get here. I don't get an almond note. Oh, don't do that. I don't get an almond note in the Parfum Cologne like I do in the Parfum. And I got to thinking, another big brand put out an almond fragrance right around 2013, 2014 when this was launched, and that's Guerlain, the brand that Roja was so connected to in the past. They did L'Homme Ideal. And that's Terry Vassar's take on an almond accord, and there's been a million flankers and stuff like that. But the fact that I get this almond note here was very interesting to me. That's something that really, just stood out, you could say. So again, to highlight the differences, the boozy opening does not last as long here. It goes into the heart quicker, and there is a little bit more of the synthetic ambroxan feel, but it's half the price. So you would think they would have to tweak something to be able to give you that, but it's very well done. A very well done rendition on the Parfum. The Parfum is heavier. The tobacco and cognac seem amped up. The vanilla also seems amped up. The florals seem amped down a little bit, but I don't know if value for money is worth double the price and half the mils. It's a very hot pie in the sky pricing model. And Roja's basically turned these into Veblen goods, where the higher the price goes, the more people want them just because they're high priced. And so it's this, circle that's happening. The other thing to mention is this bottle says Creation E. You take a look. And this bottle, or this decant, says Enigma. They're exactly the same fragrance. Enigma was what Roja wanted to originally call it, but they had to go with Creation E because of the fact that in the United States they had some sort of copyright issue, if I'm not mistaken. So they had some sort of copyright issue where they could not use the Enigma name, and so they had to go with Creation E. So they're the exact same fragrance. Rudy said he bought this at Saks in New York, And, you know, who knows, I got this on the internet from somebody. So that's kind of a high level comparison. It's not scientific by any stretch. This is just what I get on my skin. And the Enigma take, interestingly enough, I was thinking about the word Enigma just in and of itself. And I think Roja's fragrances, he is like the king of the Shifra. You know, that's what he does best, in my opinion. He loves Shifras, by the way. This is almost like a modern crazy twist with cognac on a, you know, taking the Shifra DNA, modernizing it, making it into an enigma, and what would you know, a man like that like to smell like? But it is posh. It is, you know, celebratory, because you think about tobacco and cognac, you know, it has that kind of boozy vibe to it. And this is, I think, up there with Diaghilev as far as one of my my favorite Roja creations. Probably the top one for men, with Danger. Danger, Parfum, and this are the two favorite Rojas for men, and Diaghilev, I think, is my favorite, period. So this comparison's gone on long enough. You've kind of listened to me ramble about this for a while. I think you got the gist of it. I would recommend both of these, but if money is an issue, do not fear going for the Parfum Cologne. I think it's a great take on this DNA. So I hope you enjoyed the comparison, and we'll see you guys with another video soon. Bye now.